but it's part of the challenges. But you have to be persistent. You have to be perseverant. You get one life. You can't give up on what you got, right? And I'd say the biggest opportunity for us in medical cannabis is the reduction of polypharmacy in elderly and for our parents. What quality of life do we want for our parents as they age going forward? I always thought that, it's funny that we funded the rec launches off the back of medical patients. Maybe now we can fund the clinical trials off the recreational purchases. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? So when I was younger, I was actually working in a dispensary. I would sit upstairs with a magic bullet, a couple pounds of weed, sit up there, grind it all up, and I was rolling about 400 joints a day by hand. Every 7 joints I rolled, I get to keep one for myself. And anything that falls out, it's a tip for myself. Scoop it into a bag. I recognized the address. I also, as I was walking up to the building, I'm like, this looks way too familiar. I'm going through the paperwork. I'm like, I called my mother on the phone. Mom, what was Grandpa's building address? Was it 545 Legendre? And she goes, oh my God, your grandparents are watching down on you. That senorita, if you haven't tried it.
I have.
Oh man.
I have the mango one. I haven't tried it. It's in the fridge.
So the first one I thought was like my jam. And then I tried the mango and I was like, oh, shout out Team Vertosa.
Hey baby, hey baby, get some bubble gum in this motherfucker.
Guys, we got Dylan from Catapult in the building today. He is running up the distribution, marketing, and sales for a couple of brands. How you doing today, bro?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I'm tired. A couple weeks on the road hustling and some big events just happened. You had Hall of Flowers happening for the industry, bringing everyone together. You got the Vitrina group who kind of pulled that all together for everyone. So shout out to Vitrina. We had Elevate, so Mr. Jazz Samra, bringing a lot of the independent retailers together, weaving the fabric, trying to create that community for retailers and brands to connect. And really, I gotta say the contrast between both events and the attendees. I mean, it was really wonderful to participate in both and to really kind of be a part of the building of the community, the building blocks. I think that a lot of people have kind of maybe not participated a lot out in market in essence of trying to build the community together. Really, everyone's kind of focused on their own brands or their own mission or their own messaging. But I think that it's really nice to attend maybe an agnostic event that's something that helps to share the voice for everybody. Mm-hmm. So I really think that was really, really cool. And one of the things that we saw at the Elevate Expo there was a lot of highlighting of really, really strong voices within the industry. So we had some really strong voices from retail, learned a lot about channel marketing. We learned a lot from, the LPs, how to perform in market, how to navigate these challenging times. We had the reps, the rock star reps on a panel out there, teaching everybody how to, affect retail, how to support, how to really just do better. And I think that it's really great to see that kind of happen in real time. You see the wheels turning, you see people learning, and I kind of really appreciated that. So for me, I come from Montreal. Maybe that's maybe a little bit why I appreciate this kind of community building, because as you know, the SQDC is the leader in our province. They're the provincial distributor, and the regulations are a little bit different than they are here in Ontario. So we're not really allowed to engage in any marketing activity. We're not really allowed to engage in any promotional activity. So you just kind of passively exist alongside kind of, the market as you evolve and you do your best to support. But there's a lot of really small pockets of community where people are doing their own thing. And I think that's why, in contrast, it's really nice to be here because, it's, I guess it's nice to feel a part of something.
Yeah, man. Parlez français?
Oui, bien sûr.
Okay.
You can't live in Quebec if you can't speak French. So while I am Anglophone first, or I am a little, I am English. I unlike many of my friends, am able to speak French, so I'm able to stay. But it's unique also being in the cannabis industry. I mean, when I started, I had an opportunity to sell and engage both to Quebec, but with the rest of Canada. And as you know, the rest of Canada is predominantly English, so that plays to my strong suit. And so, it's challenging to remain in Quebec if you can't speak French. So definitely something you need to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I get that. It's great to know more languages, than just one, especially because you're able to like travel the world and communicate with so many different people. Like that's the reason I'm learning Spanish, because I feel like, I'll be able to communicate with half the world at this point. Yeah. And I already know Hindi and Punjabi and English and maybe a little bit of French, probably not as good as you, but took it up to grade 12. So
well, there you go. So that's 5 languages, 6 languages right there. That's pretty solid base. I mean,
trying.
Like you, I also took a little bit of Spanish. So I was thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like so many people in this world, why not be able to speak to them in their language? I mean, even the way that I express myself in English versus French, I'd say like English, I'm very articulate and I'm able to kind of get where I'm going. But but French, sometimes I'll forget the word, or I express myself, I guess, on a simpler basis. And, sometimes that can be frustrating. And I feel like that might be the same for people who speak other languages who are trying to communicate in English, right?
Yeah. I mean, you hear it, right? Like people, when they come here from other countries, they speak English and you can kind of understand them, but it's not grammatically correct. And, they're not using the proper words, but you can get the point across. And I feel like that's the same way for us. That's what we're kind of doing. And at the end of the day, it's a great base. It's a great start. That's, everybody learns from somewhere.
Absolutely. You just got to keep your mind open, right?
Yeah,
it's
dude.
always learning. It's like, I don't know why some people are so shut down to absorb, like adapting, right? This world's all about this industry is all about adaptability, man. It's adapt or survive.
Yeah.
If you don't want to learn new things, then this isn't for you kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get you. And I can tell that you're very well spoken, like even from our previous conversations, however short they were, but I can tell that, and this is your knack.
Well, thank you. And like I've mentioned before, I find you well spoken, but I also think you got a very, very, special voice out there. One of the most soothing voices out there. It's like, hello, welcome to Touch of Love. I mean, how do you not tune in after that, right?
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you. Dylan, why cannabis, bro?
Why cannabis? Well, that's a fantastic question. Necessity would be the first way I would put it. So first and foremost, I'd say my exposure to cannabis was, let's say, as a teenager, like many, trying it for fun with some of my friends. But I have had Crohn's disease since I'm 8 years old. And first and foremost, I'm a patient, and I've been quite sick throughout my life. I had two intestinal surgeries before the age of 18. I've had multiple parts of my intestine removed. So I have the type of disease where my intestines scar and narrow and close, and then the food doesn't go through. So, it's either get rid of it or don't eat, and not eating is not a solution. So, so that was kind of something I was dealing with since a very young age. And I found that through my, I guess, recreational experimentation, that cannabis was providing me tremendous relief, and predominantly, funny enough, a strain called Jean-Guy, the original Jean-Guy from Quebec, which is no longer available, or nor was really ever truly available in the legal system. But we can get into that another time. But really, cannabis helps me manage my symptoms. Cannabis helps me manage my everyday. And for someone like myself, Crohn's disease doesn't have many solutions. Like arthritis, like many other things, it's an immunosuppressive disease. So the solutions that we have available to us right now, they're all crutches or masks. But these crutches and masks that are available also give you tremendous amount of side effects.
Yes.
So, it's great that they have biologics that help reduce the immune system, stop attacking yourself. Great, step one. They've got steroids that, they blast your system with. Also helpful, but tremendous amount of side effects, long-term side effects, short-term side effects, messes with your mood, your sleep, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And then you have painkillers, you have benzos, you have very addictive medications that they solve problems for a very short amount of time, but
then they become a problem themselves.
They become a problem. So I ended up on a fentanyl patch myself. I was on a fentanyl patch throughout university. I would go into my final exam in accounting with a 90. I'd end up going from the exam room to the hospital, and I couldn't finish. And I have to do it again. And I had to do the same course 4 times because of it. So, but it's part of the challenges, but you have to be persistent. You have to be perseverant. You get one life. I mean, you can't give up on what you got, right? That's kind of the mentality I try to approach every day with. So I've been privileged enough to find the other side of that, right? And I'm here, and I use cannabis kind of fully as my medication. And so for me, cannabis was a necessity. It's something that I truly believe in. It's something that I use. It's something that I need. And I believe it's a pathway forward for a lot of people. I think that I had to watch my grandmother suffer tremendously through a lot of pain and a lot of issues. She had a non-exaggerated number of 30 plus hip replacements. It's a lot to deal with.
That's crazy.
To see someone suffer with all the side effects from the meds when potentially cannabis could have reduced the pain, could have reduced polypharmacy. I'd say the biggest opportunity for us in medical cannabis is the reduction of polypharmacy in elderly and for our parents. What quality of life do we want for our parents as they age going forward, right? And I think that kind of that ideal is kind of what drives me in cannabis. So despite the fact that my day job and the way I guess I make money in cannabis is to, sell the excise branded finished goods of recreational products to the provincial boards and through, my passion really lies in medical cannabis. It's in trying to help tell the story, to help fill the gaps, to help bridge the gaps. I mean, I myself, I worked in many clinics. I've founded a clinic, the purpose of which was to help patients understand the trial and error policy. As a pharmacist, you're the missing link in this particular chain, right? I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. But a lot of people are turning to me for my guidance to help them figure out dosing and trial. And because navigating the experience is scary. And if you don't have someone to help hold your hand through it, you're going to have a negative experience. You're going to assume that it doesn't work. And then you're going to evangelize it in a negative way, or you're going to internalize it, and you're not going to want to try it. And when people talk about it, you're going to put your negative experience forward, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, especially if they already think it's negative.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, like it's not going to work, or it's drugs, or I already struggle with doctors only want to prescribe CBD. It's like, you're going to sit here and tell me that THC has no therapeutic value?
Like you have to have a healthy balance of everything. And that's where the knowledge comes in. And I feel like me speaking to people with that experience, I feel like that is the stepping stone. That's a starting point. And it's the only way forward. Like we have to use people's experiences that have, been through it. And people like yourself and, a few other people I've talked to in the industry, they've had some profound medical experiences with cannabis.
Absolutely. And where all these minor cannabinoids are coming forward and, people are making all these amazing claims, but yes, there's great indication that CBG can help with, neuroprotection, with gut microbiotica, with, MRSA superbugs. Amazing. Do we know what dosage? Do we know what type? Do we know, what complementary terpenes is the right dose to fix whatever issue we're going for? So like me, I respond incredibly well to CBG dominant products, but I don't know what the right, the right recipe is. I don't have something consistently available. It's always, the medicine cabinet is, okay, I got 15 different types of cannabis here. Okay, how can I mix and match to, suit the need or kind of what I need? And so if I'm doing that on a daily basis and I've got a lot of knowledge, imagine what's happening to people who are starting with, nothing and no guidance. So, yeah, I mean, I think that helps drive me forward a little bit, is just trying to help get this industry to the next step where we can help connect a lot of the dots. I think outcomes, it is something that we really need to try to get towards, to talk about. And it's challenging with the way that the regulations are set up right now, right? You need to do a phase 3 clinical trial if you want to make a a claim on any, change of state, right?
And you need thousands of people for that.
Thousands of people. It takes 10 years to do a phase 3 clinical trial, right? So, I mean, look around the industry and how many companies are actually doing clinical trials?
I don't hear.
There's probably 4. Of the 4 who are doing the clinical trials, who's still persistently following through? I'd say Aurora just released one recently, which was actually super interesting. The interesting part about the study that they released was not that, what was more that the potency of the flower wasn't actually the indicator of relief. A better indicator of relief from consuming cannabis was the number of inhalations that a patient took. And it was around 9 inhalations across all 3 of the strains that were tested, regardless of potency, that they started to achieve relief. That to me is a more stimulating or unique number that I would like to kind of double down and look on. But again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I just like reading through the data that sounds really interesting. Yeah. And then you have Avicanna. Avicanna just recently purchased the Shoppers Drug Mart platform, and they rebranded it to MyMedi, and they have really incredible product suite of medical focused products, fast acting, minor cannabinoid, They work with the Sunnybrook Hospital. They've got a clinical trial going on there. So like there's people out there who are doing it, but like you can count them on one hand, right?
Dude. Yeah.
So it's pretty wild that that's the way things are going. But I think even now with international export taking off, and some companies have been very challenged in the rec market, you see some people going back towards medical. I always thought that it's funny that we funded the rec launches off the back of medical patients because they legalized medical cannabis first, and maybe now we can fund the clinical trials off the recreational purchases. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? Like,
that'd be a nice change of pace for sure.
Let's get the facts in. Let's get the data going. Let's stop giving people excuses.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The data is necessary.
Yeah.
So, how would you say your condition is right now? You think you're remission?
So remission. So I do have active disease right now. I'm actually in the process of changing biologics for the first time in 10 years or so.
What are you taking, if you don't mind me asking?
No problem. So I just came off Remicade for the second time. Funny enough, I just had my 102nd dose of Remicade. Each dose that I get, I go sit in the chair for about 3.5 hours. They dose me with all sorts of IV Benadryl, IV Gravol, all sorts. I'm a zombie. Best sleep I have in every 6 weeks, but I come out of that and you lose so much time. It's hard to book travel. It's hard to do all these things. I had 104 doses of that. I calculated the time sitting in the chair. That's almost 5 days.
Wow.
Just sitting, having something drip into my arm to lower the immune response. So now I'm looking at changing to another drug. It's called Skyrizi. It has a little bit more flexibility because it's something called an on-body injector at home, which is, I'm going to find out what that means.
So you don't have to go to the clinic.
So the first 2 or 3 doses are at the clinic. So I did my first one, and then it becomes like an at-home thing. So we'll see how that one goes, and working on the transition there. But really it's up and down. And one of the unique parts about Crohn's disease is like, it's a hidden illness. So everyone looks at you and they say, "Oh, you're fine. You look fine." But like, you don't know what's happening on the inside, right? And so it's tough because Crohn's disease doesn't qualify for a lot of things, including compassionate pricing at any medical cannabis company.
That is madness.
Not a single company in all of Canada provides any compassionate pricing for any people with IBD, IBS, any sort of stomach illness. The only people who get coverage are EMS, veterans, people generally under $30,000 of income, and possibly like a very small subset or unique proportion of patients, which might be cancer or
end of life
or palliative kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, nothing. And we're some of the highest volume consumers. I find it even hilarious that nobody's even targeted that particular patient group, because our endocannabinoid systems are severely imbalanced, and that's why we need so much to kind of push us back towards the middle. So it's really unique. And then again, and many people think that it's CBD that helps predominantly with Crohn's disease, and I would argue that it's not. It helps, but in lower doses. Once you start to exceed a certain dose, you actually put yourself at risk if you're using these things like biologics, because CBD can help increase, the level of bioavailability of the drugs in your system. If they're achieving a certain level, you can now reach blood toxicity because they calculate it using a different metric.
So it would be toxic for the drug. So it would inhibit pretty much the metabolism of the drug.
It could, and not only that particular drug, but many drugs, other drugs. People take benzos, people take drugs for their diabetes, people take all sorts of stuff, and they don't realize that there is actually it interacts with CBD. So we say CBD is non-psychoactive. That's not true. It is psychoactive. It's non-psychotropic. So I find it, again, it's like verbiage is very strange in this industry. It's everybody changes kind of the narrative to suit whatever they want.
Yeah.
Talk to one person, ask them what full spectrum is. Talk to another person, ask them broad spectrum, full spectrum, isolate, this, that, reintegrated terpenes, botanical, natural. I mean, again, what story are you telling? What purpose are you trying to get across? But the truth should be the truth. Facts should be facts, and we shouldn't be able to kind of repaint it.
Yeah.
Marketing messaging is one thing, but like objective facts are another,
It's
right?
science, right?
Yeah.
Science is one thing and one thing is right. That's why you have a hypothesis. That's why you can prove things, because only one way is the right way to do it.
Agreed. And I also find that sometimes the people with the loudest voices don't even know what the scientific method is. So they're discrediting or they're touting something completely different, but there is no basis to evaluate it. And it's like, so you think that this is complete nonsense on the basis of a gut feeling, and you now think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and you have nothing to back it up. And when I ask you about it, you get mad. Yeah. So it's like, why don't we just what happened to facts, man?
Yeah,
what happened to
if you think I'm wrong, prove it. You know,
I'm okay with positive discourse. I'm very game for that. I love arguing with people. Yeah. But I'm arguing. I like having intelligent.
It's a debate
discussion with people. Like if you have, it's okay to disagree. We can still be friends at the end of the day. Dude. But tell me why you disagree. Let's have a discussion about it.
Maybe you'll change my thinking, right?
And that's another thing. You have to be open to changing your positioning. I mean, I think a lot of people also double down on being wrong because they're ashamed or they're afraid to seem, appear
unintelligent.
And the smartest people I know change their opinion based on new information.
Exactly.
Because that's life.
That's smart. That's what smart people do.
At a certain point, you might say the wrong thing or you might support the wrong thing, but then you learn more about the subject and you change your opinion. I mean, this is what we do with people who are racist or, we try to reintegrate people into society by changing their views, right? Yeah. By bringing them, oh, hey, the world's not so terrible. Be friendly to everybody. And it's just wild.
When you can change your opinion, that shows that you're mature and you have that ability to, have an intelligent conversation. If you're I don't want to name drop anybody, but I have this person that comes into the pharmacy and she's a registered nurse and she works for this asylum for mentally ill students, I guess. And she'll just come in storming in with 3 or 4 things that are completely wrong to her that we've done as prescriptions or something like that. And we'll tell her the reasons and she'll actually end up being wrong, but she won't accept being wrong and or she won't admit to the fact. It's just you are so arrogant. You are so in your own head about everything and think that you're right that you can't even bear to think that somebody else might have the right answer.
She also might be a little bit insecure and she might think that admitting that she's wrong in your eyes it's
invalid, makes her invalid. Yeah.
But that's that's not the case. Everybody makes mistakes, man. I've met doctors who outside of the hospital are space cadets. Dude. And these are the people with their hands in your body, cutting you up when you're they're the ones who fix you. And
dude, I get prescriptions from doctors all the time that are completely wrong or the dose is wrong or the indication's wrong. And it's bro, what are you guys even doing? So
that's it. It's but they do, they can do a great job 99% of the time, but everyone makes a mistake.
Everyone makes mistakes.
So ideally we're not making those mistakes in life or death situations, but it's it happens. And admission of admitting that you were wrong and taking ownership is also something that many people don't do. They like to pass the buck. Everyone likes to pass the buck. It's it wasn't my fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's
pass it on to the next person. Yeah. No one wants to take the responsibility. It's Jazz was saying to me as well. He's everyone's talking about education, but no one is putting their foot forward to actually do the work. And this is something that he really wanted to highlight. And I think that he's shown by his actions that he is trying to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, at Tabitha with the, Level Up and the Canmar group there, that the education that she put on for the Elevate event was absolutely incredible. I think when at Velvet, when we were working back in the day when I was with Velvet, we were working with the CEG, the Cannabis Education Guild. That was our education platform that every rep that was onboarded into our company would have to go through a cannabis education program, because how are you going to explain products to people? How are you going to participate if you don't understand? Mm-hmm. Here's the history of cannabis throughout the world. Here's the history of cannabis throughout Canada. Here's the history of since legalization. These are what you can and can't do. These are the different types of this. I mean, you have reps that come in from bud tending. You got people who come in from outside of industry. You have some that consume, some that don't. Some are super passionate about this. Some are very disorganized. You get a mixed bag of this and that. Yeah. I think a lot of people tried to invest in education at the beginning, but there was such a tremendous amount of turnover in the industry that people started looking at education as too expensive because the person is going to leave you in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's their
Or
responsibility.
the LP is going to go out
educate.
of business or whatever. Yeah.
So I also think a lot of LPs take a more product centered approach to education instead of a category focused approach to education. And I always found that I had much more tremendous success educating retailers by, for sure, highlight your product within the category and the product suite, but talk about it as a whole, the differences within it, how they can better sell it, what are the trends. Like, if they don't understand how, what CBD
why is it unique?
Why is it important? Like, it doesn't matter, you can say, also, I don't know if you've been into a store and you chatted with some people, but like, you see the eyes glaze over, and like, you want to be able to engage with people where you feel like you're really connecting and that something's going to be retained, but you want to provide value.
Yeah, man.
And like, I found some of the most rewarding experiences where when I went out to a store that I feel like I spoke to like 2-3 years ago or something, and I heard somebody spitting back the words that I used during my PK session, like way back when, to sell the product. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes people are really listening and sometimes people really aren't, but education is the most important. I think it makes or breaks also the retail experience, right? Like,
absolutely. It's consumer focused, right? It's supposed to be like, you're supposed to be teaching the community about this stuff. Who else is going to be the source of knowledge for people like, well, not like you and me, but people that, don't consume on a regular basis or don't know much about the plant or don't have medical reasoning to use it. So I think, and at the end of the day, it should be their responsibility. It should be store managers, bartenders, their responsibility. The LPs, the brands should put out this information. You guys should do this on your own time. Like, this is your job. You should go do homework about it. You should go learn about it. You should try to strive for improving your job.
Yeah. And it's really wild to me that education is not prioritized at all. And I think that also education will lead to better sales because it will unlock a discussion, right? A lot of people are afraid to talk about edibles or afraid to talk about fast acting products or minors because they're afraid of using these state changes, right? And being offside and being subject to a fine or whatever it may be. But if you're properly trained in selling a specific category, that what you can say, what you can walk up to the line and allow them to infer afterward, right? Or go and read some of the studies about the recent cannabinoids. Reference a study, because you know what? You're not actually making a claim. You're saying, hey, look, this study from when I used to sell Ripple from TGOD, we launched TGOD across Canada. One of the most effective selling tools we had was the bioavailability study from the University of Washington that showed that there was a 95% increase in cannabinoid absorption, almost, 2.5% the onset, the
edibles
time via edibles. It was that Ripple powder. Nice, it's actually funny enough, the Jane and Juice, the ampules that we have is a candidate to directly replace that product. It has been discontinued across Canada and has been removed from the market. But our product is much less expensive on a per dose unit. It's actually more versatile, reusable, and we know that there's a market for it because we used to sell an awful lot of it. But people want predictability. People want discretion. People want unique. And like, that's what these types of products offer. So that's what Ripple does. And like, I think that the next wave of people, like the people who are uncomfortable coming into a dispensary, these are the types of products that would bring them in. It's predictability. It's discreet. It's proprietary. I mean, you want something different, right?
You want something different.
There's so many products that are the same thing, just rewrapped in, it's great that you added like pink, but how many of the same cart can you buy at 6 different price points? How many of the same flower can you buy in 10 brands?
People ask me all the time, it's like, how do you think we can stand out in the industry? What do we need to bring out? And I always tell them, well, you're not going to survive with a new flavor on a distillate based drink. There's a million already out there. And it's like Matt came on and said from she's like, you have to grow the pie. And that's what he did with the hash. It's not the drink he focused on. He focused on the cannabis,
the input,
starting from the very beginning. And even these guys, I went to a Chapeau Noir. That's what we were talking about earlier. And these guys are dropping wine. You know? So this is like,
it's very cool.
that's what I'm saying. And it's like, yo, like you guys need to do things like this. Like you have the right idea. Nick is actually the one that asked me, the CEO of Chapeau Noir.
Did you show you the tie stick too?
Yeah.
That looks sick.
It looks sick. And the cap.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Honestly, the presentation on his products are really unbelievable. I look forward to the launch. I think they're going to be very successful.
Shout out to Nick. I really want to go to their facility as well. There's like this estate that they have. And like apparently it's like $9-10 million. Like,
okay.
And they're gonna have like a barn. Like they have all this shit going on. Like they have some cool stuff in the works, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna have to keep an eye out on that. That's pretty wicked.
And that's what it comes down to. You got to be unique. You got to think outside the box. Like even what astronauts, these guys are doing.
Yeah.
You know, Alex is doing. So this is like the chips, the peanuts, the jerky, the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. So this is what we need: the innovation, the normalization and standardization, like you're talking about.
I also think we need more support and we need more focus in the industry. I'd say that I see a bunch of products and brands that launch, and they're aiming for a product suite of 20 plus SKUs, and that's great. But maybe 3 of those SKUs sell, and 17 of them are, we'll call them dead weight, that they're spending an awful lot of money on. And I think that going that wide is kind of something that's working against these people. I mean, after a certain point, why are you continuing to keep these things alive? You're clearly not making money on it. We've seen the estimated life of a SKU at the OCS. They've kindly put it all together for us in a delightful presentation, right? So I think one of the things that people need to focus better on is actually something that that's what we're trying to do at Catapult Sales, is we're trying to help companies launch better.
Yeah.
You go into the OCS product call. Let's say you've been successful. You now have a 4-month notice period to go and create your assets, to get ready, to plan your events, to build a real launch plan. And instead, most companies wait until 4 weeks after their launch to hit the panic button when they don't hit the necessary distribution they were hoping to achieve. And that's when they start spending on marketing, and that's when the first event will happen, and that's when the sampling budget gets unlocked, and that's when you spend to get delisted. So it's a wonderful practice that people should get away from, and that's really what we're hoping to do. Is we're hoping to coach people into success. At the end of the day, you got to run your company, you got to run your business, be your brand, but you need to listen to the people around you. I find it very funny how many people pay for consultants in this industry whose advice they don't take. It's like, there's
why you doing that?
There's a lot of brilliant people out there, much smarter than myself. They come from tech where they've, flipped 10 companies, or they come from, I could only aspire to accomplish what these people would in their background of expertise. But when it comes to cannabis, I'd say that if it's not your area of expertise, you should absolutely defer to somebody who knows better than you. And people continue to double down on making bad decisions out of ego, and they really need to stop doing that. Build a sustainable business, take care of the employees that show up to work every day and support you. They've got families to feed. When you mismanage companies and you plan poorly, you're playing games with fire and you're playing games with people.
It's a ripple effect.
And that's not okay. So take care of your people, plan better, launch better.
100%.
100%. Even if you don't, even if you don't work with a company like a Catapult, or like there are plenty of companies out there, or plenty of just passionate people, that want to help companies do better, and they need to find a way to harness that passion and turn it into tangible results.
Yes, absolutely. So what were the things that you're kind of doing before Catapult?
Before Catapult. So maybe I'll walk back a bit. So originally I got into this I guess we'll call it the legal side of the industry, working in cannabis dispensaries. So when I was younger, I was actually working in a dispensary. I would sit upstairs with a magic bullet, a couple pounds of weed, sit up there, grind it all up, and I was rolling about 400 joints a day by hand.
Magic bullet?
So like the magic bullet, like what you make your smoothies with. Yeah,
so you grind up weed in that?
So I'd sit there. I had it plugged in. I had a couple different pounds of weed. I'd toss it in the magic bullet, grind it up, grind it all up. Yeah. I'd lay out 40 piles on the table. I'm supposed to be rolling 5 pieces. I put out 0.7s. I put out 40 piles, and then I'd roll the filters, get them ready, and then I'd run the table, rolling 40 joints. Every 7 joints I rolled, I get to keep one for myself. whatever fell out of the joint, I don't bother repacking because it's already over. So I know that I'm going to hit my number. All the joints are weighed at the end. They're all perfect. And anything that falls out, it's a tip for myself. Scoop it into a bag.
Dude, didn't your like fingers start cramping up?
So yes, I think more interesting was that I realized how sensitive I am to some of the either the fertilizer or keef. I don't know if it happens to you, but I would end up getting hives from from like my wrist all the way up to my elbows. So certain strains where I was a lot more sensitive to, and others not. So I respect the people who work in the grow rooms who deal with all that pollen all day, every day.
And it takes a level of passion and dedication too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, I think if you have that passion for gardening and seeing your plants grow, I think like even when I'm outside sometimes and I'm like underneath the canopy like watering, like I'll have a bunch of like itchiness and like kind of bumps on my arm afterwards, and it's like whatever, it's part of the game.
Well, it's a weed, right? It's a weed. I pulled up some weeds like in my driveway the other day, and like I had some marks on my arm for a week, so I was like, oh, gloves, this is why people wear gloves. Like I get it now. So I was in the dispensaries and I did that for a bit, and obviously that was in a very, we'll call it gray zone. And that was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't worth sticking around kind of thing. So moved on, and that's where I kind of started working with a lot of different patients. I found myself working with a clinic. So I was doing all the patient onboarding. I was doing I was building the plans. I was actually the one speaking to the doctors with them, like right next to them,
Sick.
like, helping them get the prescription, what they wanted, what they needed, helping them figure out which LP to sign up with, product, all of it really. So that was a lot of fun for a while. And then kind of I had a disagreement with the management team there on how they were kind of operating. I thought that there was a way to do things a little bit better where we would be able to maybe save the patients more money. Because in Canada it's tough already out there. Costs of medicine are high for people who are not covered, and even a lot of medications are not covered. Even having insurance, I've been disqualified a few times, and if I could show you some bills from the Crohn's meds, you've seen them, so you get it. Yeah. So it's like it's tough. So I thought there were potentially a way to help save the patients a little bit more money. And they wanted to continue to make that money, and that's fair. So I decided to kind of go off on my own and do that on the side a bit as a passion project. That's where I founded the Cannabis Access Center. So that's, anyone who's visited my sketchy looking website that hasn't been updated in 10 or so odd years. That was the webpage that I was using to kind of help onboard patients and bring things in. So did that for a little while. And then I joined an LP in Montreal, Quebec. So I was the Chief Product Officer of CBD Medicinal Solutions. We were located at 545 Legendre Avenue. So in the heart of the Schmata district in Chabanel, if you're familiar. Really funny, just side note about this particular address. I had arrived and I was looking at the blueprints with one of my partners there. And I recognized the address. I also, as I was walking up to the building, I'm like, this looks way too familiar. And so I'm going through the paperwork. I'm like, 545. I called my mother on the phone. I'm like, Mom, what was Grandpa's building address? Was it 545 Legendre? And she goes, oh my God, your grandparents are watching down on you. Oh, it's wow. Like I managed. So we owned that building for 40 years. My grandparents came over from World War II. My grandfather was going to rent a building, and my grandma was like, you're not renting, you're buying that. We bought this building. We owned it for 40 years within our family. My uncle was running the K-Thread business out of that facility. We sold it to a gentleman named Tufik, and Tufik was actually selling it to the cannabis project. So it's just so crazy how small the world is, and how things come back around, right? Yeah. So it's like, this is the building I've had my hardest ever day of manual labor in my entire life as a little child, moving, hauling heavy boxes, changing labels and stuff. So it was just such a crazy experience to come from like clinic and whatever, and then join the cannabis industry, the legal industry, trying to get something up and running. And it's something that I already have history with. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, wow, okay. So maybe I'm supposed to be here. Maybe this is what we're supposed to do. And we worked extremely hard on that project. And also, I don't know if you're familiar with like Montreal very well, but you know the Taz clothing store?
No, I can't say I do.
Okay, so Taz is actually right next door to 545 Legendre, and it's a very, very well-known clothing store and place to go. And that was actually going to be our extraction facility, which is super funny. Like it's just funny to look back on it, how close we came. And even one of the Jane and Juice guys has a tie to this project because Dr. Nadeem Siddiqui, one of the founders, was going to be the chief science officer of our project there. So as a part of that project, we had kind of, made our submissions. We were working on everything. We were going to do five floor, indoor grow.
Is this like CBD dominant?
So funny enough, the company's name was CBD Medicinal Solutions because that was what was submitted on the original application. And at the time you were not really able to change the name of things. We were planning to actually only do recreational focused products, which is hilarious because our name was CBD
Medicinal.
CBD Medicinal, entirely counterintuitive to what we were doing. But funny enough, a couple of the, the brands that we were working on there have now actually come to fruition. Like one of the partners, George Sousa that I was working with, he's the CEO of Oasis Extracts right now. The brand Curado, Cannon Fire for the live rosin. I mean, they're putting out incredibly amazing stuff. One of my friends is the master hashishon over there, and even they've also expanded, and Connoisseur Culture came out. It happened, Connoisseur Culture. It's a retailer out in Hawkesbury. They have, I think, probably the nicest bud bar in all of Ontario. They got about 330 products in their bud bar, but like curated. We're talking like real nice stuff, like not just So working with those guys, we came so close to getting our funding. 11th hour, someone threw in a non-compete, and they got the money, and we didn't.
Wow.
So at that time, it was tough dealing with the fallout of that, and I was like, well, okay. Do we want to, double down and try to continue to make this dream work, or do I want to kind of move on to the next opportunity and see what's out there? And that's kind of when I found Velvet Management. Funny enough, the story of how I came to them was pretty ridiculous. So the Green Organic Dutchman, T-God, was one of the biggest players in Quebec at the time. And it was a company that I really wanted to work for. So I was, following everything they did. I was reading the press releases, just trying to figure out, who might I talk to, or how do I position myself to get my foot in the door when there might be something available. And I saw a press release where it said the Green Organic Dutchman signs an exclusive agreement with Philip Dandurand Wine and Spirits, aka Velvet Management, to do all of their national sales across Canada exclusively. So I was like, who's Velvet Management? Go and I look for it online. Doesn't exist. It's a Russian modeling agency. I was like, okay, that's super weird. So I go to the Dandurand website and I actually don't see anything there either. I go to the info box and I write to the info box and I say, hi, my name's Dylan Groper. This is who I am. I get a call about 3 to 6 hours later from Vianney Albrecht, the president. He came out. So he's formerly the vice president of the Dandurand Group. And he came over to start and found the alcohol division at Velvet Management. We chatted on the phone for a bit. I guess he liked what he heard. And he brought me in for an interview. And they offered me 2 jobs. And I ended up taking the job, the sales director of Quebec and Atlantic Canada.
Nice.
And kind of that's how I got my leg in the door at Velvet, through a very... I guess a sleuth heavy, protocol there. Not a lot of people probably would have come to it the same way, but that's also why I laugh. It's like people say, you can't get a job in this industry. You can. There are creative ways to figure it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So I'd say I'm a pretty resourceful guy, and that's kind of how I got my foot in there. And Velvet Management, I was the first outside hire. So you had Vianney Albrecht, the president. You had Maud Sudan, who came over, who's now currently the chief commercial officer of Velvet. And then you had me. I was the cannabis guy. And so we layered in the executive team. We built it out. We helped T-God build out Canada from an idea. We were tasked with building out and, getting all their provincial listings, their sales. We ended up working with MTL Cannabis. MTL Cannabis had 1 SKU at the time, the Sage and Sour in a 3.5. What a beautiful, lovely strain.
Yeah, to this day, man.
It's CBG dominant. It was an easy story for me to sell, right? Because it's something I'm truly passionate about. So we took them from 1 SKU. We put them in almost every province. They were a top 3 flower producer in every province. We worked with Ace Valley. Ace Valley got acquired by Canopy Growth. We worked with Citizen Stash. They got acquired by Valens. We worked with Valens. Valens got acquired by Sundial. I mean, we've worked with Collective Projects, some of the most tasty beverages out there.
Yeah.
Got Senorita. If you haven't tried it,
I have.
oh man,
I have the mango one. I haven't tried it. It's in the fridge.
oh dude. So the first one I thought was like my jam, and then I tried the mango, and I was like, oh, okay. So like the mango's serious. So funny enough, I spill the can almost every time I drink it. I don't know what my problem is. Spill about half the can, and it works every time. And so I think that comes back to the Vertosa emulsion. Shout out Team Vertosa. You got Ryan Pinsky leading the sales over there, but like straight up, any drink that uses Vertosa, I feel like you can confidently say that it's going to work. And I think that's a big differentiator, between the drinks at the beginning of legalization and kind of what's going on now.
Processors. I'd love to go see what they're doing. That's something like I hear everyone talk so highly about them. Man, it would be a real great experience to go there.
I'm sure we can make it happen, man. If you want to get out there, but yeah, no, really, like those drinks are amazing, and so I mean, we worked with some of the biggest companies in the space. I think at the end of it, I'd probably worked with something between 85 to 100 LPs. I think I was personally responsible for over 1,000 listings across Canada.
That's a big number, man.
But, I mean, I in that sentence, that's great that it was me, but everything was a team effort.
Yeah,
like let's be real here, nothing is a singular personal accomplishment in this space, and nothing could have been accomplished without the support of the team that I had around me and the support staff, underneath and around and above and wherever they might be. We had a tremendous team of focused individuals putting their collective effort towards really making our partners succeed, and I think that's what helped really make us stand apart.
So originally it was alcohol.
So they are still, they are literally one of the largest alcohol providers in all of Canada, maybe even North America. I think they're the number one partner or number two partner of the LCBO, similar for the SAQ. They've just expanded a spirits division, and Velvet was the completely independent cannabis division. So there was no duality. I didn't have to deal with any alcohol or anything like that. It wasn't my specialty.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But they're having tremendous success on the alcohol side, and they're having continued success on the cannabis side. And I wish them continued success. But I'm really excited about Catapult and the opportunity that I have here. I mean, I think it really gives me a great opportunity to take all of the learnings from launching all of those many brands and products, and the many pitfalls and mistakes and tripping and falling and skinning many knees. But yeah,
how'd you make that entrance into Catapult, and what was your leaving Velvet like?
Well, so there you go. So funny enough, I think it was time. I was given the gift that I couldn't give myself, we'll say. So Velvet had undergone a little bit of a restructuring, and during that restructuring, it gave me an opportunity to give myself some peace of mind. After 4.5 years kind of being there and helping build the foundations, there really wasn't much left for me to kind of grow into, right? And I was starting to really burn out after kind of the last 2-3 years of really just kind of slugging through it. It was really exhausting. This industry is very hard. I'm 33 years old. I look very young, but I can assure you these gray hairs have come in a lot faster.
I think I have a lot more gray hairs than you, dude. You look.
I got a haircut recently. Just give it a minute, man. But no, even like my beard, my mother stops me. She's like, "Oh, you got all these white hairs." I'm like, I don't know if it's me or if it just makes her feel older. Kind of thing, But yeah, I think this industry has aged me a bit, and so I've just been really tired, really exhausted, and I think I was ready for the next step. And the next step for me, I really didn't think was working for somebody else. I've always wanted to, I've started my own business before. I was cannabis access and other things. I mean, it wasn't purposeful to make money, but I've done it before. I mean, I used to have a sneaker reselling business. I used to, hustle some tree. Enterprising would be the way that I would put it, right?
Yeah, entrepreneurship.
That's it. So, so for me, I think the natural progression was, okay, now I've worked for somebody else and I've seen what kind of support structure they can give me. And I think that we have the recipe, we have the ingredients, we have a plan kind of on how to do it better, more effective. And that's really kind of what we want to do. So we want to cut out the noise. We want to cut out I guess we'll call it the common pitfalls that happen between working with a sales agency and working with a partner. I think a lack of definition of who's responsible for what, right? So I think I think at the beginning of legalization, and frankly currently, a lot of brands launch or try to launch because they think they know better. And then they come to the sales agent, hat in hand saying, I don't know what to do. Here are the keys, fix it. And then every couple of weeks they come back and ask for a status update. But that's not how the relationship needs to work. The brand needs to exist in market. The brand needs to actively build a portfolio of actionable assets. You need a team out in market. You need to participate in that community that I was talking about at the beginning. You need to reference things. I have LPs that I represented at Velvet. We won't name anyone specifically, but in the 4 years that I represented them, they never went out to market. They never personally participated in an event. Their face was not visible. You're not building a community if you don't leave your house, kind of thing. I mean, I've said it before to other people, like, I can open more or less any door. I think that's a skill that I'm pretty good at. I can probably get you onto more or less any shelf once. But if your case doesn't turn faster than, 0.3, 0.4 units in a week, then chances are that SKU's not going to get brought back in. And the way to change that story is about physical, actionable assets. It's about how do you market to the consumer once you're through the door. I think a lot of LPs focus on one part of the equation, and they don't divide their marketing into different buckets. And I think that works against them. So planning more effectively, having things that you can action and gain visibility, support people, participate. I mean, as a sales agent, my job is to maximize your distribution and increase your visibility. Did I mention that I'm your digital marketing company? Did I mention that I'm your creative? Did I mention that no, that's it. That's what the function is. If you want the higher package, I also do commercial pricing strategy, help you with provincial board negotiation, product ideation, formatting, whatever. We use actual data to make these decisions instead of just winging it. Yeah. But that's kind of it. So,
and then Josh, how did you meet up with him?
Josh, I worked with at Velvet for over 3 years. So Josh was managing Western Canada. So Josh started as a territory manager in BC. And because of his skill set, his likability, and his preparedness, he rapidly, was promoted. And Josh was our field sales manager for Western Canada. So really natural compliment to myself, because I used to open the markets, put the, load the SKUs in and load them up with stock. And Josh's, teed up for him. And Josh's job was to just
knock it out the park,
get that inventory out to the retailers.
Hadn't actually met up.
No. So funny enough, I worked with Josh for 3 years at Velvet, or over 3 years, almost 4. But because of COVID, I don't think we actually had the opportunity to meet in person. I live in Montreal. Josh lives in BC. And because of my Crohn's disease, I was a little bit extra wary of being out and traveling. So it was a little solitary over the last 3 years. And so we actually met for the first time in person after we decided to start working together. So after we had both left Velvet, we started, I had gone and interviewed with a couple different LPs, just kind of very low key. I didn't really make it very public for a long time that I had left. I really kind of wanted to find my next solution, as opposed to kind of, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. Like, I don't feel sorry for myself. I actually feel tremendously excited about what's going on. So like, but like when you leave a long-standing job, a lot of people are like, oh, hey, oh, like, no, I don't want pity, man. No. Like I'm excited.
Dude, I'm leaving because I have shit to do. Like,
like it's the next step. Like, let's reset, let's recharge, let's go. Like, that's why I'm out here. I'm driving around, to stores myself, because I'm excited about building the next step, building that authentic connection, so that when we are able to layer in reps, that those people can come in and they have a much easier job, because we've already started with, we curate our brand list. I don't want to work with everybody. Mm-hmm. I don't want a bajillion dollars. Mm-hmm. I want to work with a few companies. I want to have a tighter portfolio. I want to have focus. I want to have branding, and I want to have the right price the first time. If you don't want that, good luck. Thank you. I wish you tremendous luck. Not all business is good business. Not all money is good money. I want you to get excited about me when I show up at the store. I don't want you to be like, oh, this guy again. Mm-hmm. Oh, more of this. I mean, you and I were chatting before about some of, the wonderful giveaways we were given, some of the samples that we've received at some of these, the things, and we won't name any names, but, it's great that these companies are giving out product for people to sample, but, maybe you want to actually sample some fresher product, guys. Like you may have noticed that my voice is about 3 octaves deeper than it normally is. And I'd say a lot of those, pre-rolls I've smoked from the shows over the last couple of days have absolutely destroyed my throat. So product quality is tremendously important. I think even Owen from Highland Cannabis, he brought a great attention to the fact that these events are a tremendous opportunity for you to show off actual branding, like outside of a age-gated bot. You can sample at these events. So you see our cassette tape where you showed it off earlier. That kind of thing makes a tremendous impression on a buyer when you show up with that.
The way you pulled it out of your bag, you're like, here, take this shit.
Yeah.
Like, God damn, what did this guy just hand me? Like, I thought it was like a cassette. Like, you were giving me like something to listen to or something. Bro, I'm a little past cassette tapes, but no, that shit was sick, man.
I've been asking for some of these more impactful assets, right? Because I've been out there and I've had to also distribute a sample in a Ziploc baggie with a little ripped piece of paper with the name written on it. And let me tell you, like, they're not going to remember that. They're not going to remember the SKU code. They might think that the weed was great and it looks nice, but like presentation wise, like it matters. You make a lasting impression. I was at Kind with the cassette tape in my back. I had people coming up to me like, yo, you're the guy with the cassette tapes. Like, man, there's these guys who invested a ton of money in these booths to be here, to gain their attention. And I had people coming up to me. It was like, it's really crazy. And like, I can't take any credit for that. That's the mastermind genius behind the Jane and Juice brand. Like, these are the types of assets that I'm hoping to force my clients to kind of give me to succeed. And like, that's really the relationship I want. So I think that like also in the future, the companies that will succeed the most will be a hybrid model of using a sales agency and a brand and internal brand ambassadors, not like a Mosaic, not like a,
I get you.
So, and that comes back to product education and knowledge, right? So it's like you need people who, if they're asked more than 5 surface level questions about your product, they can now delve further. How can they become your brand? They need to be out there being the face of your brand, because I can't be. I have a portfolio. My agenda is to increase your sales, increase your distribution. My job is not to pop up and be like, I'm your brand. Like, it would be great if I had the time. I'm passionate enough. I'd love to do it just because, you're part of that portfolio. But the job is to sell. And the job of the company is to exist and be and make friends. So I always I jokingly say, like, you need to just hire internal brand ambassadors. Their only job is to go around, make friends, smoke weed, give out samples, and activate and support. That's it. I'll even tell them where to go. I'll do it for you. I will plan a route for them. But this is how this system is going to succeed. So if somebody comes to me and they want to work with our company and they have money and they've got brands, but they don't want to do that, I don't want to work with them, because it's not going to be successful. It's not going to be as impactful as they're hoping. And then we're going to constantly have these discussions where it's...
You're gonna butt heads. And you have the expertise in your area. Like they're coming to you for a reason. And brands have expertise in, being a brand and having a product. So, the way to come together is that mutual compatibility and bring each other up in a way, it has to be mutual. And like you're saying, like not all money and not all connections are good. It's got to be a mutual benefit for both. You just got to have a good vibe.
But like the number one thing that I can tell to brands is like brand ownership, brand ideators, brand LPs, anybody, get out into market, talk to people, be a part of your community, see what's going on. See what people have to say about your product. Yeah. Take the feedback to heart. You may think you have the greatest product since sliced bread. It doesn't matter what you think. Like, frankly, like I don't like mids, but you know what? The number one selling product in Canada is a mid. Let's be real, because pricing, potency, expectation is aligned, and people are okay with that, and that's fine. And so that's the recipe that you need. You need to have brand identity, you have to have proper messaging, and you have to have the customer expectation align with what you put in the bag. And I think a lot of people, they start with brand ideals or they start with parameters, and then as product becomes less available or what they grow falls out of spec, they relax those, characteristics, or they relax those brand ideals. And I think that people need to have more integrity and say no. They have to say, no, this doesn't match this doesn't match what I said would be in this bag. So instead of selling this and disappointing you and killing all of my brand equity, I'm actually going to just not sell something in this SKU for 4 months and come back when I have something better. Or I'm going to put this somewhere else, or I'm going to find a different way. B2B it. Come up with a sub brand. Put it on medical. Like there's plenty of solutions, but don't put it in your branding. Where did we start? I don't know how. We started one place, we ended up at another one.
That's how this stuff usually goes, man. So these Jane and Juice guys, how did they reach out to you? How did they find out about you?
Well, funny enough, so one of the founders, Dr. Nadim Siddiqui, so I mentioned, so he is actually the head of the McGill University Cannabis Lab.
Okay.
He applied for the license for the university.
Fuck yeah.
He's got a grant from the government to study CBD and autism. And he actually made the nano himself for those ampules. He mixes.
Can you introduce me?
I absolutely can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you'd like him.
Sounds like my hero.
he's a pretty good dude. I mean, he also designed, the slip-in suppository lineup that we ended up putting on pause. But there's an awfully hilarious OCS subreddit post that somehow got wildly out of hand regarding those. And we also have a topical cooling spray launching about a month or two under the Revita brand. So basically, so it's Dr. Nadim Siddiqui and Alex Azoulay is his partner, who comes from Natural Health Products. So from a product ideation standpoint, they have incredibly high quality inputs for everything. Everything that they source is top notch. Then they have high quality hardware. So they invested in C-cell carts originally. They thought they were doing the best they could or the best available. Then they found out, okay, so we make they don't do distillate pens, right? So we make a more premium input. So we want to have the hardware to match it. So now all of the hardware that we ship is C-cell ceramic core, ceramic tip, full glass, right? And so these guys have great hardware. They have got great products, and now they've got great pricing. So one of the missing pieces was pricing. And so I worked with Nadim way back when on that project. They actually came to Velvet Management to work. I brought them in over there.
Sweet.
I was chatting with them about maybe working with them internally. It wasn't the right time. I actually started working with some other brands, and turns out that they decided to move on from their relationship with Velvet, and they asked me if we could work together, and we found a way to do that. So I was very excited about the potential with them because I always saw it. Their branding is beautiful. I mean, they have almost 19 SKUs available at the OCS. Like, it's a tremendous opportunity to work with. And for me, I was like, okay, let's do it. And the missing piece now is marketing, and they're unlocking that as we speak, right? So I think that, with the participation in Hall of Flowers, with the participation in Elevate, with the launch of our upcoming single ampules kind of thing, I think that we're looking to make a pretty big splash, pretty big impact, on the back end of the year. And I'm just tremendously excited about working with people who can come up with something like the cassette tape, right? Like something that makes an impact like that. Yeah. And it allows me to, to look even better, right? I got people coming to me, for it. So
it's the uniqueness of it. Yeah. Even like the Nugs Fry Pack.
Yeah.
Like, obviously they're
dope,
like they're pre-rolls at the end of the day. It comes with a certain population. It comes for a certain type of demographic, but the fact that they're just in this like pouch that you get from like any sort of fast food joint, it's like super cool, man. Like just stuff like that.
How about the mini scoop, right?
Yeah.
I think it broke the internet, right? You see the guy is like our Canadian heritage, like those old commercials that they used to post, some guy added like the Nug scoop to it. It's too funny, but that's it. It's like these small little things, right? And they become revolutionary, and like viral marketing campaign off a little scoop to scoop your milled flour. Does that sound like, groundbreaking? Like, maybe it is though, because it's the
first one that's been done.
The first one that did it, right? So, but like the tremendous, we're talking about it, right? It's like, it's a part of the fabric now. And like, that's kind of what you're looking for. So, funny enough, we're trying to get a CRC tape deck packaging done so that we could sell in that. That'd be pretty wicked.
That would be sick.
Will you get a four product type, variety pack?
Maybe not.
Who knows? Maybe Health Canada one day will allow us to sell something like that. But
even if you get the packaging through Health Canada, then that's a win, to begin with.
But I think that it's like presentation is one thing, but it's also the finishing touches, right? Like if you open that insert, right, you fold it out. What do you have in there? You have the OCS SKU code, you got the wholesale price, and you got some information. It's not just here's drugs to try.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Like there's there's a scan to a survey. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like it. Tell us if you hate it. You can't improve upon it if you don't know. So
I actually did it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You might be one of the, we've had a tremendous amount of support on the survey, but I think originally some people, they tell you they're going to do it. They don't want it. Nobody wants to follow through on like information. It's like, dude, it's like 3 questions and like, hey, what
It's anonymous too. Like
it really, it's like, but you know what? Who am I to tell people to fill things out on the internet, right? But yeah, so Jane and Juice. So that's kind of how we started working with them, and I mean, we've launched now. I think six or 9 more products over the last couple of months, and those are already starting to receive tremendous traction. I mean, one of those products we launched is the first solventless distillate vape cart in the Canadian market. It's solventless distillate crossed with Park Fire Gelato live terp sauce. And that particular product is called the Sweet Child of Mine. What a great name.
Yeah.
If you ask me to explain solventless solventless distillate, I can't. We're waiting on the doctor for that one. Funny enough, that might have been why he was calling me this morning on the way here.
Yeah.
But no, they are just so innovative that every SKU I have to spend like 15, 20 minutes explaining, because it's like, oh, hey guys, just did it again. It's like, it's even like, our SoFly, our full spectrum micronized isolate pre-roll, right?
Yeah.
You showed it off. We've talked about it. But even we have some FSMI here.
We'll take some videos of this after for sure.
If you, Channel takes some videos, but it takes on the texture there of like a kinetic sand kind of thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like the straw, this is like the strawberry jam by Dabble. This is what it looks like. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
man.
I've heard so many amazing things about the Dabble strawberry jam, man.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah. Like really. It looks nuts. Plus the branding is like perfect, right? Like really Dabble Co. Family Farms. I love it. But yeah, so this product, full spectrum micronized isolate, right?
It smells like a spice cabinet, bro. Yeah.
You got a little on the mustache
do
now.
I?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
looking
a
good.
little high.
Yeah, a little high. But yeah, this FSMI. So like this one in itself, people are like, what the hell is full spectrum micronized isolate? They're like, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
This full spectrum isolate, 2 counterintuitive things. But I mean, the way that I kind of teach people about it is, so we take Gorilla Skittles live resin, and we dehydrate it, we desiccate it, and then we dust it. And we dust it into the 27% THC indoor Gorilla Skittles top flower. And the beautiful part about this particular FSMI is it's a material that carries the consistency of kinetic sand. It has an electrostatic charge on it. So now we take the milled flower with the dehydrated live resin, and then we roll our joints. We get a perfect burn, perfect homogeneous mix. So resin ring, no snaps, no runs, no pulls. You're not catching the wind and losing half your joint on an $18 pre-roll. It's been a great experience. Everybody that I've basically told them, I'm like, smoke it. You don't like it, don't bring it in. They've lost that game. So I'm very confident in this particular product. It's really easy to stand behind. People need to know what FSMI means.
Yes.
And I think that we're also going to see a lot more FSMI pre-rolls come out. I've noticed that there's another company actually who's launched some, Retro Cannabis, out of PEI.
Okay.
They're doing some pretty wicked things. Keep an eye out. No affiliation with me. Just respect the hustle. Respect the hustle. I think people are going to start shifting towards this FSMI because you do get the full spectrum experience, but you really do get like a perfect pre-roll burn. Like, it's tasty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it says full spectrum micronized isolate is a crystallized live resin derived from a full spectrum hydrocarbon extract and micronized into a flower like powder, rich in terpenes with a full suite of minor cannabinoids.
Yes, and that's the beauty part, right? It's not THCA powder, so you're not just up in the potency. You're actually providing a full spectrum extract, and the full spectrum extract that we use, we like to use a like to like infusion matching kind of process. So the bulk of, if not all of our infused pre-rolls will have strain matching input from a live resin perspective to the strain match flower. So This one is Gorilla Skittles on Gorilla Skittles. And, you know, with our hash infused pre-rolls, we got that Wi-Fi 41 ice cream cake on Wi-Fi 41 ice cream cake, pineapple on pineapple.
Come on, man. That's how it should be, bro. All this like infusions with not the same strain. It's like, what are you really doing? Like, that's like, obviously, like, people are going to consume that because it's different and it's unique and there's a time and a place, but it's like, there's no really benefit to consuming that at all. Like, you're not really getting you're not getting the flowers effects. You're not getting the isolates effects.
Hot dog water in the morning, hot dog water in the afternoon,
man.
right?
That's it.
But what's really cool about them as well is that once they find a cultivar that creates really beautiful extracts, they carry it through different types. So you've noticed that our MTL blonde hash, that's our black cherry punch, strain specific.
Yep.
1 grammer.
It was amazing, by the way. The way the consistency is, the way it just like busts up and like scatters through your spliff. It was fire, man.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So we got the 60 to 70% potency. It's probably one of the most potent legal hashes, right up on the tip of, full melt. This is not a haplable product. I insist you do not try it. I've burned my fingers many times trying for you, so you don't need to. But this product is absolutely nuts. Really, it's made from strain specific indoor, which is why it's so aromatic and really, this is one of the SKUs that has been most consistently ordered across retail and reordered, and we've had customers coming back specifically asking for it.
Wow.
So for me, I'm like, okay, well, that's really solid feedback. Like, that's the kind of things that we need to tell more people about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of stuff that I look for. This used to be about $46 a gram. You're looking at $30 now, so it's it's a much different place we're playing in. The hash landscape has evolved. There's now a lot more players in it, and seeing what's going on, we want to make the product more accessible, right? That's just kind of the name of the game. It's providing great products at an accessible price point. The world is hurting right now for cash, so not everyone needs to go ultra premium, right?
Yeah. What is this music lookalikes thing?
Sorry?
This.
Oh, so the music lookalikes. So they like to pair music with their strains and effects. So that's where you might have noticed like "Sweet Child of Mine" for the name of the vape, right? They want to pair that kind of. They pair the music with what perhaps the intended effect would be. So another unique piece of the Sweet Child of Mine is it's a vape pen that's high in osmine, the terpene osmine.
Yeah.
Osmine is usually extremely volatile, so it doesn't really get pulled through usually when you do an extraction.
Shit.
But because of the type of extraction they're doing, it preserves that. And we've had feedback from friends and family, from some of the people who've tried it, that it's the first vape they've tried that tastes and feels like smoking a joint. And like, when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a bold claim.
Yeah.
It's like bold move, Cotton. Like, it's like, okay, let's see kind of what that is. And like, I tasted it, and like, I don't know if we're, at full joint smoke yet, but like, frankly, that is a tasty cart. It is a really well put together thing. And, we were sampling it at Hall of Flowers. We were using one of those really cool Zenko devices. Shout out Jonathan Hirsch for coming through, man. Appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, really, really wonderful cart.
It's gelato and what?
No, sorry. That one's that one's solventless distillate mixed with, Park Fire Gelato live terp sauce. So, and it's not a traditional distillate pen. It's a non-traditional distillate pen competing in that category and in that price point. So it's just like a better for you, we'll call it, and probably something more flavorful. And even just like solventless distillate. I mean, it's one less solvent used in the process. Even like we were chatting before about the kind of the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds music theme. And that's our Diamond Juice vape pen. To me, this is the flagship vape, hands down. Not a single other company in all of Canada has a vape cart that compares to this in the diamond category. So this is a 70 to 80% THC vape, but it has a 12 to 14% retained terpenes. So that's pulled through. That's FSC extraction. That's not reintegrated. That's no botanical terps. That is 12 to 14% terps, terp lock technology on cryopropane extraction. So cryopropane leaves a lot less residuals than a traditional BHO. So you're talking better flavor, less residuals, ludicrously high terpene content.
That's
potential.
like 94, 95%, like total cannabinoids and terpenes.
Well, so that's it. And you look at the the next diamond cart, and it's probably between 86 and 94% THC and 3% terpenes or less. So they took all of the worst parts of the
It's gonna
distillate.
make you tired.
But that's it. It's all the worst parts of the distillate cart. You're not even getting the flavor at that point. You're just getting just all the hot dog water, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Dude, I love it that you call it that shit.
but it's what it is. Distillate is hot dog water. At the end of the day, I mean, look, you can flavor whichever way you want, but it's all going to feel virtually the same. So it's hey, to each their own. There are people. It's the hottest selling category. It has been. It's 80+%. Of the sales of vapes. It has been for the last 2-3 years. So as much as we want to sell better, you got to sell what people want. So start there and then convert them by offering and teaching.
And the distillates probably convert them from other smoking. They bring them over from smoking more harmful things.
Oh yeah, I mean these e-juice solutions, right?
Come on, man.
I mean, come on. They kicked who'd they just kick out of Canada? It was the biggest one, right? The Juul.
The Juul,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we can do to get people off of that. I mean, that being said, my biggest gripe with legal vapes is that I don't trust the solutions and I don't trust the hardware. Formulations are sketchy at best. That's why for me, it's a lot easier for me to buy into this type of product because I know the background of the person who's making it, right? Like,
he's a fucking doctor.
He's a doctor with patients at heart, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't put that you wouldn't make that product if you didn't believe it was safe, right? So formulations are strong, hardware, safest you can get. So like that's why I can confidently consume this product. And it really makes a difference. I don't think that's what's at top of mind for a lot of the vape consumers out there as they continue to pound that distillate train. But that's okay. There are a lot of people I think that we can convert into this market as well, because I mean, you look at what the black market is actually successful with, right? It's dried flower. We are never going to be able to compete with the cost and the variety of dried flower in the illegal market.
Facts.
Maybe 10 more years. 15 more years, maybe, right? But like, name me a well-known pre-roll brand in the black market.
Yeah.
Name me any infused pre-roll brand in the black market. Is there one?
No, that's why General Mission went fucking crazy.
Do any of the indigenous dispensaries have any, like, I have never heard of a well-known infused pre-roll brand in Canada. Edibles. We don't know what's in them. They sell an awful lot of them on the black market because of their claims, but like you test them and it's 1/5 of the ingredient, right? So even there, I'd say edibles, yeah, maybe we'll get to compete there soon. I think, we're having discussions. Everyone thinks that's going to happen a lot quicker than it will. Give it 2 to 3 more years. Nothing happens quickly. So all those people thinking that it's going to happen next year, you keep believing. But edibles, and then you look at beverages. Are there any beverages in an indigenous dispensary or in a black market or gray market dispensary? No. So like, what kind of products are going to succeed or are going to convert people or are going to force people that would have gone there to shop in the legal system? So you got pre-rolls, which are the fastest growing product segment, which outsell flower 5 to 1.
It's crazy.
And it's continuously growing from there. And it's going to overshadow total dried flower growth very shortly. You've got vapes, which are just month over month across every single product, province continue to grow. And then you got infused pre-rolls, which now probably takes up half of the inhalable extract category across almost every province, and it's eating more and more and more of the category share. So you want to launch in Canada, you're launching new products, you want to come to market, don't launch a 3.5 of dried flower.
Yes, absolutely. Agreed.
People want to buy pre-rolls. It's not what you want to do, it's what customers buy. So if you want to come to market and you want to succeed and you have X number of kgs you can grow a year and you're limited, you know what? Companies are breaking down their A-buds to put it in their pre-rolls nowadays. And you can taste the difference because, frankly, we talked about the bottoms of the bottoms, right? But we also just smoked, the Nudes gas face out there. And frankly, that's
amazing. And even the Super Silver Haze by Chronic.
Yeah.
All of the Volo pre-rolls that I've gotten, insane the way they smell.
The aroma, the taste, the consistency. You can feel it. You can smell it the moment you open the container because the terpenes are preserved, right? It's like complete difference in smoking experience. So it's like when people start to care more about their pre-rolls, there's a reason why. I mean, Carmel, right?
Yeah.
Carmel with the animal face, 3x5.
Yeah.
They crushed it. They crushed it. They continue to crush it, right? It's just because they're so consistent with that offering. They've got that gorgeous tube, and everybody comes back. I was actually at the shop this morning before I stopped by here. Woman walks in, first thing she's purchasing, Carmel 3x5 animal
Nice,
face.
nice.
Ask for it by name. You know, it's like, that's what you want. They've created a name for themselves. They have the first premium 3x1/2 gram pack, and everyone was chasing them. So it's like, be a leader, not a follower, right? Like I hear the voice of my grandmother in my head. It's a joke. It's like, Michael's my father's name. Be a leader, not a follower. You know, so it's my nanny. She's a lovely lady. She's 90, 92, 96.
So that's your
It's
dad's mom?
my father's mother. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just have, you know, her voice ringing in my head. So that's always why I joke. It's like, you know, you can follow people off a cliff, right? Yeah. Like a lemming, but you can also be the one to lead the category. And, you know, I see people copycatting. By the time you launch your copycat, your competitor has ideated already. Why don't you take or learn from the success of that SKU? You ideate on it.
You
Make
be that
it
person.
better. Like, follow the trend and be the first one to be the next one, because better beats first every time. So it's just like, come through and have a plan. Launch a product with purpose. Care. You know?
That's what it's about, man. Yeah,
So-
care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's got to translate through the product without the person even being there. You got to be able to open it up and experience it and be like, yeah, this person put some time and effort into this shit.
I mean, like, I go out of my way, I try to at least, to like, I call it throwing kindness, you know? A lot of people throwing shade out there. There's a lot of people just like, these guys, you know, screw these guys. Or like, great. Like, that's great.
Very productive.
Or a lot of people out there just complaining into the aether. Like, I understand life is hard. We're all getting kicked in the nuts in this industry over and over and over again. And like, start with the complaint, but then action. What can I do to change it? So what would you do? Complaining is great, but what is the proposed change to get to the next step? How can I support you to get to the next goal? And like, that seems to be like the missing component for a lot of people. Like, they just want to complain about it. So it's like, action it, just do it, just like participate, throw kindness. Like, you know, like, as you said, Volo's crushing it, man, with the cap cut. Like, you know, other companies tried to do the cap cut, right? Like 6, 7, 8, 9 companies tried to do the cap cut, but they got cap on board. They brought cap to Kind Fair.
And that's why their 3.5s are popping. Like, it's not like they're coming out with something new. It's jealousy, you know, it's Mac.
But it's cap.
But it's cap, you know,
It's
like,
Cap's junk,
that's
yeah.
the difference. That's the unique aspect of it.
And it's not like other people didn't try to brand it, but like, execution matters, right? And so,
And their branding too, the fact that they're always out
I
with
like the
these
sexy
different
purple, right? It's,
yeah, come on. And like, those guys like Earl and Jen, those guys are just fantastic.
Well, even Kevin came over from the OCS, right? Got some good insights working on the original category team. So I think that they've got really like tremendous opportunity in this market to continue to succeed in premium. And like, but that goes to show you that's a company that came in with a plan. They're a premium offering. You see their product on discount? Nah, right? Because no, that's not the branding, right? So it's like, a lot of people launch products and they buy it down to get it in store. That's not how premium works. You're just training a customer if you're buying that down.
That's it.
If you want that 3.5 to sell at 45, it better always be 45, because the day you drop that price, I'm asking, why is it not $45? What's wrong with it?
Because Carmel's staying at 45. They've been like that for like, you know, the whole time since they dropped. And that consistency, people are going back to it. Like you're saying, people are asking by name.
That's it. There's maybe only 4 or 5 brands. I got to be honest. Going across the Ontario market, I think my partner Josh and I have visited 500 plus stores over the last couple months between the two of us, just hitting the road. And like, there are maybe 5 to 6 brands that get asked for by name in the dispensary. Everything else is just there. Yeah. So how do you get into that conversation is really the next step. So I think it's about creating excitement.
That's it, man.
And flow through opportunity is going to create that excitement in the near future. I think a lot of people look at flow through as a punishment, or they look at flow through as a a headache,
A
or
chore.
an unfortunate challenge, a thorn in their side that messes with their budgeting as they plan their stores, the store's purchasing. But flow through is an opportunity for you to curate a menu, for you to engage directly with an LP, for you to differentiate yourself from your
Competition.
ordering group.
Yeah.
I mean, there are rotating SKUs out there. You know what's great about a rotating SKU? They can put anything in that bag, right? So what happens if you work out a deal with a chain that only they get that particular genetic, or only that region gets that genetic, and then the other region gets a different one? Then you rotate your genetics by region. Wouldn't that be pretty incredible? Because that's what we call a drop. That's a curated drop. That's a limited time drop. That creates excitement. Oh, Mississauga, you're only getting 500 cases of this SKU. Next time it comes back, it's not this. Like, but people don't look at it like that. People aren't being creative. So I admire what Ghost Drops is doing, because Ghost Drops is taking the hand they were dealt, and they're trying to kind of repurpose it into what flow through can be. And really, they're really trying to bridge the gap there. So I see tremendous opportunity in flow through moving forward, but it's about who's really going to take advantage of it.
Okay.
Headaches breeds opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got to caption that.
Yeah.
I know you touched on it a little bit, talking about having internal brand ambassadors and then having external marketing as well. But other than that, where do you see the industry going in like the next 10 years?
Ooh, where's the industry going? Well, we're heading for a rough patch. I mean, we're continuing through a rough patch, I'd say, probably for the next, probably six months to a year and a half. I think we're going to see a lot of companies that are hanging on by the skin of their teeth, both public and private, are going to throw in the towel, or whether, forcibly or by choice. We'll find out. But there are too many companies in the space. There are too many companies without a plan. There are too many companies without desirable product, sunk costs that are way above things they will ever recoup. And I think that we're probably heading for a couple more rounds of layoffs, and we're heading towards a couple more rounds of shakeups, and we're heading towards a couple more rounds of difficult times. But I think that there will, I see optimism on the horizon if you can survive it. And there are a couple of companies out there who are bucking the trend and who are quite profitable and who are doing things the right way and approaching things the right way and going through authentic growth. And I think that we're going to really see some clearly defined winners over the next 6 months to a year. And I think we're going to see some tremendous opportunity open up for new brands as people try to pivot and panic into international, and try to find a way to ship it anywhere that's not here. So
Anyone that's willing to buy.
well, I mean, you look at what's happening, and like you look at the international market, and it very similarly parallels what happened at the beginning of legalization here, which is you have several of the big companies trying to act as the gatekeeper, and they're pumping out a bunch of boof at super expensive prices, and then they're selling it to Europe or Australia or Israel or wherever else they manage to push it. And it's the bottoms that they couldn't sell here for, it's the same type of product that they tried to sell here and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not good stuff. So it's like, we're just doing it again. Like, why not start off exporting quality product and then you build the name? But it seems to me that some people still haven't learned their lesson, and that's okay, because they probably won't be here for much longer. So there's only so much money you can lose, right? Before somebody takes it all away from you. And I think in the public sector, there's even more clarity on where some of these companies are going. I mean, you look at their stock price, you look at their cash on hand, and it makes you feel really bad for a lot of people, kind of, what's probably coming. I mean, I've seen it happen before multiple times. I've had many friends that have been affected across all, many different organizations in this industry. And it's just like, it's tough. I mean, two pieces of advice I can give to people that I really like. I think I've had to beat into myself over this, because I feel like I'm almost maybe naturally a little bit too trusting, in the sense that like I want to look for the good in people. Like, I believe that people are intrinsically good but do bad things, out of like circumstance or but when people show you who they are, listen. actions speak louder than words. In this industry, people tell you they got your back. People tell you that you're safe. People tell you whatever you want to hear, really, while they're twisting the knife in your back, while they're talking shit about you on the other side, and when people show you, listen, don't wait. Listen, because you can see it on the wind. They're not going to be here for much, much longer. Not with that business attitude, not with that approach. And turns out their statements are public. So, it's tough. So when people show you who they are, listen and seize your own destiny, because I thought that I needed to work for somebody else because it provides a little bit more safety or peace of mind. But that's not true. You end up internalizing all of the stress of someone else's business. And at the end of the day, your safety is not guaranteed because
at all.
You are not an owner of the business.
They don't give a fuck about you.
They do not give a fuck about you, not even a little bit. As soon as the math doesn't math for them, for the CFO, for the guy who makes the decisions, not on the basis of people, but on the basis of, oh, this number is just a little bit off, cut. Like,
that's it. They're the first to cut because they're gonna stay. They're the top of the top. They're gonna get rid of everybody at the bottom.
Exactly.
And my dad actually used to own a Shoppers like 15 years ago now, and his territory manager was just a dickhead, like complete. So he brought this store from like nothing, and he was like made it like one of the best running stores in Canada. So this guy didn't appreciate that. He left. And now that territory manager got fired because my dad was the best performing store under him. So it's just jokes because even the territory manager wasn't safe. Like, that's not your company. You're going to still be in that basket of, okay, who do we cut? So like you're saying, it's your own business as much as it is a headache and as much as a struggle it is to get it off the ground. It's the way.
Honestly, I wake up in the morning and I'm excited again. And that's the thing that I miss. Yeah. Like, I love selling cannabis. I love being in the industry. I love making authentic and natural connections with people. I get genuinely excited about the product pitches. And then that enthusiasm ends up being contagious. So I really just want more people to bring that enthusiastic and contagious enthusiasm back. And I think that after being kicked so many times, a lot of people are like, well, I'm a number on a sheet. I don't get any respect. I don't get any love. They're punching the clock, and that's cool. But I've noticed that there are way too many passengers in this business, in this industry. And like, you know what? Everyone's got to be rowing in the same direction. I want to be the captain of the ship. I don't know why you don't want to be, but everyone's got to get on the same page. And if you don't want to be here, that's okay. But leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave, because your weight is dragging down the rest of it. It's dragging down your colleagues. It's dragging down the expectations from the other side. And it's
just the industry as a whole, you're regressing.
Your energy's gone. And if you don't bring that same energy, you won't perform the same way. And it's not about performing for other people. It's about finding a sense of purpose. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to feel a sense of purpose. We want to feel like we belong. We want to feel like we make an impact. We want to feel like what we say and do matters. And a lot of these companies don't provide that environment or don't foster that type of environment. They try to push you or force you to stay in your lane. There's, random levels of hierarchy or formality that don't need to be there. And I just want to assemble a team of winners. I've played team sports my whole life. I want to win. The game of life. Don't you want to win at the game of life?
For real. I want to be the doctor,
Well, that's it.
I want the gold dollars.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to be successful in life. I want to be able to provide for the eventual family that I will have, the same way that my parents were able to provide for me. So the only way you're going to get there is by hustling hard, putting the effort in, putting your head down and fighting for it. And passengers aren't doing that. So it's I want to create a team of snipers, of go-getters, of people who know how to go out and execute, and we do what we say we're going to do. One of the things that really bothers me is a lack of integrity in this industry. And I'd like to believe that I have, solid set of morals and backgrounds that I was
Your
raised
word
on,
is means something.
that
right?
that I have a high level of integrity, and like that's something that I hold myself accountable for. No one else. I mean, people will talk shit about you if you're not, but like nobody's gonna hold you accountable to being a person of integrity. Like that doesn't mean anything. But like
They're just not gonna fuck with you.
exactly.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's like it's incredibly important. How do you carry yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How do you engage with other people?
Legit.
Like there are so many hateful people out there. I mean, I've heard such horror stories from reps, from in industry, from frontline people, and like it's just awful the way that people get treated. And we need to treat people with more respect, with kindness. We need to give them a voice. We need to support them when they use that voice, so that it doesn't come back at them. I think people try to weaponize. So maybe I'll walk that back a second. A lot of people are very sensitive nowadays, right? Politically correct and sensitive. So a lot of people are very afraid to use their voice for fear of repercussion. And when people call out bad behavior or bad actors and are then subsequently punished for using their voice to call attention to something that is objectively terrible, that's bad, because that means these people are being punished for speaking out. That's not okay, because then that fosters an environment where we're never going to get these bad actors out of the system, and we're punishing good people. So we need to find ways to kind of raise up those voices and protect the people, so that they can continue to grow. Like I've met so many passionate people out there that I see where they're at now, and I know where they're going, and they're going to be at the top of these organizations very soon because they want to be here and they love this industry and they get up every day and they want to engage and connect.
Like
and
you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And like me. Like
No, I feel the same way, man. Like I don't even make money in this industry, and I wake up every day wanting to do more and more and more for it because it's my passion at the end of the day, right?
But you're building the community. You're part of that fabric. You see what I mean? Is like you're doing this because you love it. You don't need to be here. You don't need to do this.
Yeah.
But you're giving me an opportunity to have a platform, and I really do appreciate that. But what you're doing, but more impressively, like the production value for your podcast, your super sexy voice, like there's all these amazing things that you can see the foundation of something wonderful to come even. And like, I see where you're going with this too. And I admire what you're doing. And, hopefully I'll be able to come back at Touch of Love episode 114.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's pretty wicked.
Do you have a favorite like set of terpenes or a favorite type of smoke that you prefer?
Ooh, that's a great question. So, I mean, I love all cannabis, right? So I'd say I'm definitely a connoisseur of sorts. I've done a couple, those interpening courses, things like that. But I think I always end up back at more land race focused sativas.
Okay.
Personally,
Wow.
I do also have ADHD and I have Crohn's disease, and those particular illnesses seem to respond very, very well to those types of cultivars. So
Okay.
they help me with managing pain and inflammation. They help me with remaining focused and alert, functional. So for me, I consume cannabis to dial in and live. A lot of people can use it as an escape, and that's not necessarily the best way to use cannabis, but it's not a judgment. I mean, I wouldn't say using it as an escape. Like relaxing at the end of the day isn't an escape. An escape is like avoiding your life or, not working, or the traditional kind of the stoner, the laziness, the like that can happen, but there's also like, I'm a prime example of the complete opposite.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I often get, feedback from many of my friends are like, wow, you're the most functional stoner I've ever met.
Yeah,
right.
And it doesn't come down to the cannabis. It's what do you have going on in your life? Why are you using it? What is your intention behind using it?
Well, that's it. Intention and outcome based, right? And so that's why I come back to outcomes frequently. It's like, well, yeah, if you smoke the wrong thing before you do something, you're going to completely rob yourself of motivation.
Absolutely.
Like, don't do that kind of thing. Like, I was at that store just, not too long ago. I was chatting with the lady. She was looking at the caramel animal face, and she had asked some questions about the blueberry fuego from next Friday, which is also like chef's kiss, right?
Good.
And like, she was super down, and then she asked, is it indica dominant? So her system is better suited for a sativa. That's totally cool, right? But not to say that that's not a beautiful, wonderful, expressive cultivar, right? So it's like, I mean, it's just really cool how everybody leans a little bit different, or everybody's titrated a little bit differently, kind of thing.
Everyone's system is different. That's the lovely thing about it. You can find what's good for you, and you really tailor your experience to what you want.
And I'm getting pretty good at figuring it out too. I think with about 9 out of 10 accuracy, because obviously there's that one person who's always inverse. That's why we can't make those claims that 100% it's going to make you feel like this. But you know, using the kind of the processes taught in those interpreting courses, you know, you can use your trigeminal nerve. That helps you kind of identify the smells. You know, you inhale, not too deeply, but you're able, depending on where the terpenes hit you along the bridge of your nose, you can actually directionally indicate how it's going to make you feel, which I thought that was crazy nonsense. But then I tried it and I was like, oh, this totally makes sense. I can usually smell cannabis now, and I can tell if it's going to make me tired or not.
Wow.
I can tell if it's like something that my body wants. But more interestingly enough, the stuff that hits you higher up in the bridge is probably more sativa cerebral. Stuff that hits you lower down the nose is more indica dominant, more
like that thicker, woodier notes.
Couch locking. Yeah. The stuff that's in the middle is where your kind of hybrid highs live.
Wow.
And like it's all tied to your nose. Like it's crazy, right? Yeah. So it's like this is what they've been using on, you know, for wine for years to try to help, you know, taste the differences and the nuances. So I think it's just there's so much potential to better understand cannabis and how it affects different people. But so I guess I lean more towards, you know, piney, lemony, maybe a little bit of pepper, terpene profiles. But that's not to say that I don't lean, you know, into that myrcene, or I don't lean heavily into those funky ones. Like you got the Bud Lafleur block, you know, over there, the Bud Lafleur box, but you try the Citrulli.
Citrulli is beautiful, man.
So
I gotta get you.
Foot
literally.
Cheesy. It smells like gym socks.
Cheese, bro. Literally.
So I was working with them at Velvet before I moved on, and they have just absolutely one. I've actually visited their facility. I've toured around. They're actually a family friend is the one who bought the company and who runs it. So it's really, really very funny. But they have truly wonderful bud, and it reeks. It reeks. And it's one of those ones where you're like, ugh. And you can't stop.
Yeah, you want to keep going back.
You just keep going back, and you're like, oh dang, like this is great. And it's even it's like the hash here. We didn't really chat about the hash from Sheesh here, but like this one is it's the 2 gram hash. It's about 50.5% THC. So the most potent hash you can buy at the OCS legally. It's got about 5% terps, and like the smell on this is just like you smell that, and like that's classic hash, right? Like that's that okay, I'm gonna relax.
It's like chocolate, bro.
Yeah. So like, you know, we're gonna go smoke some of that after this, hopefully. But like that's a gorgeous product right there, and that's a labor of love from somebody who truly cares. I mean, Steve, the master grower over there at Sheesh, is absolutely crushing it right now. You know, the Dias de los Muertos, the flagship strain with our lovely, you know, skull stickers over here, is making a tremendous impact. We actually won the best flower at Got Loud. We beat out Snoop. We beat out the Drip. We beat out, like, Steve was losing his mind. He was so happy. It was
and
like,
this is Dias de los Muertos as well.
So that's actually, yeah. So the way that they make their hash is we take the Dias de los Muertos. So during the trimming process, the keef falls into the bin. This is not sifted, not like actively sifted. It's trim bin keef. So it's almost finger hash, man. So it's trim bin keef, and then they finish it with a high THC crude with a little bit of minor cannabinoids in it. So that's what gives it that finished sheen, that nice, lovely texture, that malleability. So you got the potency that's desired, but you have the exact expectation of what, if you were buying hash over the last 20 years in Montreal, this is the type of thing that you're looking for. And so not only is it one of the most potent, you're looking at like $30 MSRP on 2 of them. It's actually $15 a gram. That is what you used to pay on the black market for that type of hash. That's the dead on price point. So we're competing with the black market. We've got a better quality product. Now it's about, let's bring the consumers over, you know. Yeah. But even the ones who are already buying this, I mean, our launch has gone tremendous for this particular product. It's really, it's been great. So nice. Like, I mean, these guys are pumping out excellent stuff.
I like how they dropped the 7 gram too.
Oh yeah. So that's also why I could bring up flow through, right? That's like, everyone's like, oh, flow through. But yeah, the 7 grammer Dias de los Muertos on flow through, we're looking at a $55 tax in. And like, great thing about flow through is I can take the fresh buds that I just cured, put them right in your bag, slap a label on, and deliver it. You're not waiting 3 months. You're not waiting 6 months. It wasn't packaged a bajillion years ago.
Yeah.
Like this is like fresh product on demand. So when people tell me like, nah, flow through, okay. So you go buy like 3-month-old tweed or whatever it is. That's cool. It's not your jam.
Yeah.
But like, you're going to put your competitor out of, you're going to put yourself out of business. Or even the guys who are buying, the house brands of the large, the large retailers, right? So they've now branded their own internal ounces. They've branded things like that. And because the pricing is so aggressive, some of the other retailers are picking up those products, right? But when you carry the house brand of a massive retail chain and you're a little independent guy, you're putting yourself out of business. It doesn't make any sense. Like, go and find an LP, try to convince them to be your little white label house brand if you think you can move enough units through your store, right?
Yeah.
Like there has to be some more people with like, hey, I like that idea, not hey, that's not fair. Like, right? Like, go out and do it for yourself.
Is super, super convenient. I think like it's a great way to get a enter into the market, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's I got fire product. I don't have the license to sell. How do I get it into the hands of the people at a fair price to everyone in that value chain? That might be the solution, for a lot of people moving forward, because there are going to be less brands on the shelf.
Yeah.
You don't, what retail store needs 500 brands? 500 SKUs is already a ridiculous number, but 500 brands. Like, that's the scenario we're in. You have a brand with 2 SKUs, a brand with 2 SKUs, 1 SKU, 2 SKUs, 2 SKUs. So it's like something I've noticed also in market is around when a brand hits about 6, 7 SKUs in market, that's when we start to see the sales pick up and take off.
Okay.
I don't know if that's because we're able to, command a larger portion of a menu. And so when customers come in, they see an ecosystem exists and they're like, yeah, 6 SKUs. Okay. I only want 1, but they exist. Like, must be good.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like a company puts out 6 SKUs and they're like, oh shit, I actually have to spend on marketing now. And then maybe they, put their hand in their pocket and unlock something, but who knows?
So out of legalization thus far, like what's been something that you really haven't liked or something that you would want to change like right now?
Excise taxes, HST and GST for medical patients. I think that is the most egregious oversight by far since the beginning of legalization. So as much as I could harp on, my inability to market or do anything in my home market of Quebec, yeah, that sucks. But like, okay, like we'll work within the box we're given. But I think that the shittiest hand that has been dealt by far since the beginning of legalization is the one to the patients and or the medical community as a whole. It's almost like a disingenuous legalization of cannabis. It is the only medicine in all of Canada that does not have a DIN number. Sure, that's fine. But it also has excise taxes paid by the patient. It has HST and GST paid by the patient. The only medicine in all of Canada. And that's disgraceful. So, there are companies like MedRelief that have done their best working towards a PIN number, right? And some insurance coverage has then, been applied for that. But I think the overall biggest miss is charging medical patients taxes on medical cannabis, which is a necessity. It has been prescribed by a doctor. It has been defined as medicine. Why are there taxes? So, I'd love to see the government refund or reimburse every purchase from every person who has submitted tax receipts for medical and excise cannabis on future returns. Yeah. Never going to happen. So what I would like to see really is I would like to say, okay, government, take some of the excise taxes that you've been taking from us, put all that money aside that you took, count it out because you know exactly how much has been remitted or not, and reinvest that into the clinical trials that we need. Take all of the money that you took from my pocket because you said that I wasn't sick enough or that this isn't real medicine, and prove that it is or isn't. I think that would be a better usage of the money, because we need to find a way to close the gap on information. And until we do that, we won't get the prescription, we won't get the buy-in, we won't get the belief. And that's the next step. So refund the patients, stop punishing people for being sick, and take care of them. Yeah. That's the biggest miss.
Nice. That's a very unique perspective.
Well, that and post-harvest processing. I mean, if you've ever seen some of the stuff in some of these bags, man, Jesus.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sometimes you open it up and you just want to close it back up and never see it again.
I've seen some of the nicest weed. I call it growing on the vine, right? I don't know what else to call it, but like just growing in the facility. And somewhere between when they chopped it and whatever the hell they did to it, and I mean, like, I could tell you what they did. I know, but like, it's not good. But like, you see the end product and you're like, why is this brown? Why is this disgusting? Why are all the tricheds smushed and immature? Why, like, what did you guys do? Like, it shouldn't be that hard. And like, I'm actually laughing out loud every time I see a big LP spend money on a press release saying we're switching to hang drying. What were you doing the whole, like the first, like for the first time, like 4 years, guys? Like what? Like, it's even like, I mean, the N-Wave machine, the bane of my existence. I mean, this is the dumbest machine I've ever seen in my life. It works great for agriculture and other things, but holy shit, is it not good for cannabis? It is a machine that rapidly dries cannabis in 45 minutes.
What the fuck?
Some of the largest LPs out there use it.
No way.
Yep. And it's why the weed is shit at the end of the day, because you've cooked it. Like it's one of the worst processes out there that you can do. And you know, there's also hardcore over trimming, machine trimming. There's people just don't care at the end of the day. So when I see people, it's like, oh, we just decided to care 6 years in. It's like, it just makes me laugh. It's like, what were you guys doing before that? Like, Jesus, it's like, yikes. It's like, these are basic things, right? Like it's not like revolutionary. It's like, we decided to go like this instead of like this. Like, it's fucking baffling. But,
oh man. Let's go consume something. What's your favorite way to consume, by the
joints. I smoke joints. I smoke joints. Yeah. It's my jam. I mean, I'll smoke virtually anything, but if we dab, I'm gonna start sweating.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna start sweating.
Let's roll something out. Dude, I think this has been an amazing conversation. I think we've been talking for like 2 hours or something like that.
No freaking way. It's been 2 hours already?
Yeah.
Dang.
So, that's how it goes when you're just having fun and you're talking passion. So,
yeah,
bro, I appreciate you for coming on, and we got to do this again.
Anytime.
And man, I love seeing you around at the events. We'll keep in touch, and let's do something here, man. I wanna see what these guys are doing, these Jane and Juice guys. I wanna get into this. I wanna see all this processing. This is some real cool stuff. So
absolutely,
you're doing God's work, brother.
Appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunity to come out here.
Yeah, man, anytime. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode. It's your boy Sean. This was Dylan. We out.
Laid back. With my mind on my